Empire.
The stage is set for the Super Bowl. That's right, we got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Francisco 49ers. This is the Football Jones Podcast. What's up, everybody? It's Mike Jones. Thanks for coming back for another episode. Yes, as I said, the conference championships have been decided. San Francisco 49ers rough up the Green Bay Packers. The game actually wound up being a little closer than what it initially looked like, but still a convincing win for the 49ers. And before that, the Kansas City Chiefs deliver an authoritative victory over the Tennessee Titans. And we're going to break it down with my buddy Sally Jenkins, columnist for the Washington Post. She and I were here in Kansas City, and so after the game, went out to dinner, and we're talking about this Chiefs victory, Patrick Mahomes' performance, and Andy Reid's coaching, and how they have made this all possible. Really good conversation here. You're going to enjoy. And then after that, going to come back with some thoughts about what we can expect to see in 2 weeks when these two teams face off in Miami. But first, here we go, my visit with Sally Jenkins. All right, here we are with my good buddy, Sally Jenkins, former teammate from the Washington Post. We were here in Kansas City together. Sally, thanks for being on the Football Jones podcast.
My pleasure.
So what did you think tonight of the Kansas City Chiefs punching their ticket and in this 50-year drought to the Super Bowl? What did you take away from it?
Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's the only thing you could really see.
Yep.
There were a lot of great plays across both sides of the ball, but you just kept coming back to Mahomes. I mean, he made plays, individual plays that you just don't see very often in a team game.
Yeah, I felt like he was going to take over the game at some point. I didn't expect him to take it over as early as he did.
Well, that sequence at the end of the first half, I mean, that guy puts together two drives. And the most important thing about those drives at the end of the first half was what had happened before, which is the Titans putting together a 9-minute drive, which felt at the time like an absolute backbreaker.
Right.
It felt like, oh my God, this is the way this game is going to go. And then here comes this kid striking back inside of 2 minutes, right? And then striking back again. It was like watching a rattlesnake, strike twice.
Right.
I mean, it was unreal. The switch in momentum was devastating. It really was. The game doesn't recover.
Yeah, it was like you could tell the defense of the Titans was deflated, and then when they fell behind, they couldn't run the ball, and then the defense of the Chiefs really started to rally. I mean, they held Derrick Henry to 69 yards, but just with those two drives, everything changed. And so I thought it was pretty remarkable.
Well, we laughed about this earlier off the air, but we agreed that it was kind of like you're in high school, right? And there's that 90-yard drive is like the kid who studies really, 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 really hard for the test, and gets a good grade. And then along comes somebody who doesn't, look like he studied as hard, but everything just comes easier to him. And that's Mahomes in that 2-minute drive. And that just broke their hearts,
Yeah.
You could just tell that they were like, okay, wait a second. If we're going to have to put together 9-minute drives for a touchdown, and this dude's going to do it in 90 seconds, that's going to be hard to live with for the next 30 minutes. And that's exactly what happened. He broke their spirit.
Yeah, he definitely did. You've seen Andy Reid for a lot of years. This was a big win for him. Getting back to Super Bowl, first time since 2004 with the Eagles. But because it took so long to get back, I just feel like it's got to be special, and he deserves a lot of credit for what he's done.
Well, it's taken him a long time to get back, but the dude has been in 15 postseasons. Think about that, okay? 15. He's. I think his career as a head coach is 21 years. He's been in the postseason 15 of those years.
Yeah.
Okay, that is actually massive. And everyone, I think, has focused on Bill Belichick because this is the Patriots era and the Belichick era, and they won all those Super Bowls. But to be honest with you, the second best coach in football over that span has been Andy Reid, and I think the laymen like us are going to come to grips with that in this Super Bowl. I hope this is Andy Reid's story from now on.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I think that they could be starting a dynasty right here. You know, he got to the playoffs 5 straight times before Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Now he's gotten to the conference championship twice with him as his starter here. I mean, there's no telling what Mahomes could do.
Very young
as
team.
they continue. Yeah, very young team.
Yep.
And I just think the way that he has been creative, letting Mahomes be himself, him and Eric Bieniemy, who I don't think gets enough credit for what he does.
Oh, I'll say no.
You know?
I mean, look, those two guys stand side by side on the sidelines, right, with their 2 plastic sheets.
Right,
you know?
right.
And I just would love to know the conversations, like what's really going on down there. And we never will know, probably,
right,
because NFL teams are black boxes. But it's still fascinating. But I will say this, like, I'm so happy to see Andy Reid and the Chiefs in general rewarded for drafting Mahomes as highly as they did, sitting him for as long as they did, teaching him for as long as they did, and then letting him go.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's one of the great coaching jobs I've actually ever seen. Really, with a brilliant young player. So many teams would have messed that kid up.
Yeah.
So many kids would have thrown him in before he was ready, criticized him unduly when he didn't deserve it, yanked him, benched him. Like, there's so many awful things that could have happened to Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback in this league. And Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy both personally made sure those things did not happen to this guy. And I hope Mahomes, I think he understands how lucky he is.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I know in talking to his agent, he feels like they couldn't have had a more perfect situation. Yeah. They were hoping that he would wind up here, and it did work out this way. Do you think that what we're seeing Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy do and the way that they took this approach, and then we see Baltimore do kind of the same thing?
Yeah.
Do you think this is starting something with coaches?
I hope so. I mean, I hope so. But, you know, look, there's no accounting for, there's a lot of bad football in the NFL. There's a lot of bad offensive, more particularly, there's a lot of really bad offensive football in the NFL. There's a lot of mishandled quarterbacks. Look at Tannehill.
Right.
Look at Ryan Tannehill. I mean, all it took was one move to a different team, and he's a different quarterback.
Right.
Look at Kirk Cousins. Look at, you know, you could name any number of guys in this league who look really bad for one team and really good for another one. And that is a testament to bad coaching or impatience in management. And you never know quite which it is.
Right.
It's some weird combination of the two. But all you know is that you can name a lot of really good quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, again, it just makes you grateful when you see a team that's patient. And by the way, another team that's been very, very patient is the 49ers.
Right, you're right, yeah.
Right? I mean, look, how many teams would have thought that that Kyle Shanahan didn't quite have it when he couldn't get past Garoppolo's injury? How many teams, you know, have fired coaches because they had bad seasons when their star quarterback blew an ACL? One comes to mind, Jim Caldwell, when Peyton Manning got injured, right? Lost his job over it. It happens quite a lot. A lot of management doesn't understand that just because your playmaking quarterback gets injured, that the team does a nosedive. The 49ers stood in with this guy, with Kyle Shanahan, and waited for Garoppolo to repair himself. And by the way, they won, you know, in a way tonight that was not very Garoppolo. This team was a very complete team. So one thing I really am going to love about this Super Bowl is that it's two franchises that got rewarded for patience and for smarts.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. And it's just been the process of seeing these teams build. Andy Reid for 7 years, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch 3 years. But to see it all, their vision play out is pretty remarkable.
It is.
Now, who do you know yet? Who are you going with for the Super Bowl?
Oh boy, I really have to sit down and look at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
The 49ers have turned in some performances this year that are so dominant that you feel like they can just overwhelm you.
Right.
But the Chiefs, boy, you know, so many times I've seen a team that got badly hurt in 1 year, got their hearts broken. The most dangerous team in any sport is the team that got their hearts badly broken the year before, like the Chiefs did by the
Right.
Patriots in that overtime AFC Championship game. And that team comes back wanting it so bad, and they're
Right.
so dangerous that they usually get what they want
Yeah.
on the bounce back
Right,
that
right.
next year. It happens time and time again.
Yeah.
And, I just think Andy Reid's been there. You're going to have one coach who's been there, and you're going to have one coach in Kyle Shanahan who hasn't.
Right.
Now his daddy's been there.
He's been there. And then he did have where he was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
kind of
that's right.
wet the bed.
That's
You
true.
know.
That's true. That's
but
true.
still, he hasn't been there as the head coach,
the head
like you're
coach.
saying there. Yeah.
I just know it's going to be a whale of a game.
Yes,
It
I think
really
that this is just the best two teams that we could have gotten.
I think so,
You know,
too.
I know we thought Baltimore was going to be, but obviously now of the teams that were left, I think this is going to be a fantastic matchup.
And a great coaching matchup.
Yes.
I mean, also, and a great quarterbacking. Everything about it. They're great players on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
The Chiefs' defense bottling up Derrick Henry the way they did.
Right.
Quite honestly, I mean, it looks like you're going to have to stop San Francisco's running game now, so that's
Yeah.
intriguing. I mean, I just think it's going to be a real collision.
It is.
I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. Well, Sally, we're going to see how this thing unfolds. I will see you in Miami. Thank you so much for your time. Tell everybody where they can find you.
WashingtonPost.com.
There we
Sally.Jenkins at washpost.com, or just go to the Washington Post website.
All
washpost.com.
right. Thanks so much, Sally.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
All right.
I think this is going to be a really good matchup. Probably the best showdown that we could have asked for, really, because you've got a really potent offense and a dynamic young quarterback. And then you've got this beast of a defense in San Francisco facing off with that explosive offense from Kansas City. But then you also have a very good offense in San Francisco. Their ability to run the football really eases pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo, even though he can air it out. They've got some talented wide receivers. And they're going against a defense that gets a lot of flack, but they come up in big moments, and they definitely came up with a huge performance on Sunday, holding Derrick Henry to 69 rushing yards. This guy was destroying teams, rolling into the playoffs and into the conference championship, and was made to look very pedestrian by this defense. They had some gang tackling. They were able to stop them for minimal gain, and then that put them in second and third and long situations. And because of that, they had to pass more, and they were not able to just feed Henry and continue to roll down the field. And that game plan worked perfectly. You know, I thought that the Chiefs were in for some trouble when they created some billboard material, some bulletin board material, saying that Henry wasn't that hard to tackle. He was just big. Well, it wound up that from the second quarter on, they did a very good job of containing Henry, and he didn't look that hard to tackle. Obviously, he is a force, but they did a really good job of having the guys on the same page, communicating, executing in sync, and that made a big difference. And so we're going to see how this Chiefs defense can do against an offense that really likes to run the football and take shots downfield. And then we'll see what this explosive offense from Patrick Mahomes and them can do against the San Francisco 49ers defense, which is one of the best in the league. So, again, pretty perfect of a matchup here. It's going to be really entertaining. I'm going to leave Kansas City, head home for half of a day, then fly out to Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl practices. So Thursday's episode is going to have a Senior Bowl theme to it as the top NFL draft prospects showcase their skills during the week of practices leading up to Saturday's Senior Bowl. Thanks so much for listening. You can read me at usatoday.com. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ByMikeJones. Email me, mjonesusatoday.com, and do me a favor, take the link from this podcast and send it to a buddy or two, get them on board, and if you have not already, subscribe, download, and give me a rating and some feedback. Thanks so much. I will talk to you later for another episode of the Football Jones Podcast.